Out of all the Toa, Gali holds an interesting place in my heart. The original 2001 Gali and her successor Gali Nuva were the first Toa and Toa Nuva I ever got, and both 2015's Gali and 2016's Gali were the last Toa I got in each wave. So for me, Gali is very memorable. I think both the 2015 and 2016 sets are really good. However, I kind of like the 2015 one more. So without further ado, let's get into Gali Superior, the fusion of 2015 and 2016 Gali. First off, I'm looking at Gali's legs. I really like both sets of legs. I kind of like the 2016 asymmetry. However, I'm going to be using the 2015 models as kind of my basis. In fact, I'm not thinking of changing much at all. I really like the fact that she has the gunmetal gray. She's the only Toa that has gunmetal gray. I also really like the adrenaline mode idea where you attach the axes to Gali's feet to turn them into kind of like a pseudo mermaid fin. I think that's really, really awesome. The only thing I really want to off the bat add is a couple of these little friction adders to the tops of the thighs, and that's just to make it a little more frictionless and so that Gali isn't super short when compared to her other Toa brethren. I do plan on using the crystal armor. And I really like the Vorox armor in the orange. I think it gives it kind of a kelpy look. I decided to use these large pieces. I believe these are like 5 or 6 size shell armors with the spikes used in basically those part of the legs are identical to the 2015 Gali, and I'm including these two larger pieces of Azure armor that come with 2015 Gali. These are, of course, slightly larger than the pieces that come with 2016 Gali, so make sure you use the larger armor. I'm putting them in the front, and those attach quite well to the torso. I really like 2016's spear, and I like the crystal armor that comes with the arm. I think these arms are fairly basic for 2016, but I really love the spear. I'm definitely going to incorporate that over the 2015 Trident spear. So this is definitely not going in the final model. I'm just going to put those to the side. However, I don't really feel this dangly chain Barbie thing is necessary, so I'm probably not going to use this. I'm just going to take it off and put it to the side as well because it's something I don't want to use. Color scheme wise, I do like the gunmetal. I do like the trans blue hands over the silver hands because they do not blend as well. For arms, I'm basically going with the 2016 Gali's arms. Basically, it is 2 lower limb pieces, one going that way, and actually one going that way, one going that way, so it's not perfectly straightforward like this. This one is turned. This gives you a far more free range with your arms, thus giving you a little more posability. Now, for some reason, like all of the Toa, Gali is right-handed or ambidextrous. There are no left-handed Toa, it seems, but that's okay. I'm putting the gunmetal pieces on the bottom of her arms, and I'm putting the larger armor pieces with the studs, with the stud connectors going down. If you put them going up, well, I guess that works too, but if you go to put crystal armor on, it won't work as well. If you put the crystal armor on like this, it just kind of adds onto the shoulder. If you have it flipped the other way, it sticks up pretty high, and you don't really want this giant, well, I guess you could call it a clamshell, sticking up from your character. So that's why I flip it around. Likewise, if you place the crystal armor on one of your legs like this, it'll take up a large part of the thigh, and if you flip it around to the side, well, it kind of sticks out a bit, which is one of the downsides of 2016 Gali. If you flip the armor so that the pegs are at the bottom again, then it takes up a lot less room. By now, the head should be a no-brainer. I'm going to go with the shorter blue eye stalk. I just like that better. For some reason, though, with Gali, they use a black two-length raw axle instead of the red axles they normally have been using in CCBS. So at least we know they still make them in black, which is just weird that they aren't basically exclusively using red now. But it is nice to see the black return. As opposed to the masks, I really like both masks, but I feel 2015's Gali feels more water-like. It looks like a scuba mask. You've got these goggles and the breather thing and everything. Meanwhile, the eye holes are way too small, and so you don't get good light piping, and it's just kind of, well, it's too small. It just kind of looks like you have a little bit of a scuba mask, like, thing, and just gray hair. I don't like it as much, so I'm just going to put that away, and I'm going to keep the mask on the side to use. Alright, torsos are a little bit different. Like before, I really like this orange Vorox armor. However, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get the custom build to have this just kind of dangling off the shoulder in, but I'm going to put it in my special little parts bin of things I want to include, as well as I really like the waist articulation that came with all of the 2016 models. I'm going to, of course, try to incorporate that. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this chest plate. It's a great chest plate, very tribal looking. However, I also really like 2015's chest plate. The only real problem with this one is that it is light silver. It's the silver. Meanwhile, this one is silver on the bottom with gunmetal gray. Unfortunately, this has yellow, while this has orange, so depending on which one I like better, one may or may not go better with the color scheme. I'm just going to put both in my little parts bucket and decide later. Building the torso is fairly easy. First, you take the gearbox from Gali. I have this completely unedited to my knowledge. If it is edited, just take a look at the edits I've made. I'm not sure exactly if there are supposed to be black or yellow gears in different places, but I have the left arm locked, the right arm has gears with some friction. I think I probably just swapped out a black gear or two for yellow because it looked better aesthetically. I'm taking 2 3-long pins and plugging them in at the bottom of the gearbox, and I'm putting in one of these 3 long rods with a ball joint in the middle on the back. This is going to be where we put our back armor. Now, I actually forgot to mention it in the Onawa build, but you do something similar in the Onawa build and attach a piece of trans purple and a gold armor edition. So nothing too surprising there. Next up, I'm putting those right like before in all my other videos, putting those right above the crossbeam. The top gear should line up perfectly with the ball joint. Speaking of which, if you attach the head, you have plenty of joint room. You can turn right, you can turn left, you can go somewhat up, you can go all the way down, but with the waist articulation, I'm willing to give up a little bit of neck articulation because you can get more poses because of the waist. You don't put on the torso section just yet, though. I've made a little bit of an assembly. For this, you're going to need one of these 3 rods. It's a half length. One has on both sides they have axles. In the middle they have a pin. I had to pull this from my extra parts, though, considering I've only had to add 1 part so far. I'm pretty impressed. You take one of these 2 axles with 1 pin piece, a axle pin combo, I guess you could call this a original series hand, a Vorox armor, pop it in like that, and a Hordika neck. And with this assembly, you just push one of the pin axle combos through. Now, you can choose to put it on whichever shoulder you want. If you want, you can put it on the gearbox side or the other. I'm going to put it for this demonstration on the non-gearbox side, just so I have a little bit more room with my gearbox there. However, if you want to be more authentic to 2016's model, then have it go around the other way. Just keep in mind, if you don't lock it in place right, it may cause a little bit of friction depending on how this piece is posed. To lock it in, I have another Hordika neck, as well as a 2-length black pin, which I put in the Hordika neck, and to lock them together, I put over our axle piece. Just has an extra piece of stability, but you push it all the way in. You unfortunately cannot do 2 because there will not be enough clearance if you put 2, but there we have it. So there you have the chest. I think this looks really good, and the extra Hordika neck allows you to switch which side this piece is on. If you don't like this one, take it off, and instead of using one of these 3 longs, just use one of the 2 long blue pieces that come with 2016 Gali. There's 4 of them in her set, so you can make it work pretty easily. Unfortunately, I don't seem to have a good place to put the other Vorok's armor in. If you want to have another if you want to have another piece, because unfortunately, because I stole this piece that originally went on the leg and put it on the shoulder, that would be more posable. If you want to have another one down here or something, be my guest, or you could try to work a way to finagle it onto the back. If that doesn't suit you, go ahead and put one of these shell armors on like that. I did a little finagling of pieces because I decided to go with the second orange Vorok's armor on the back. I ended up basically just switching out a 3-length pin, putting it out, and essentially attaching a 2-length black pin there in exchange for taking out this pin and putting it basically just in where the original blue pin, putting the gray pin where the blue was. I think this looks really good. If you don't like this armor, just switch it out. I think these are both high quality enough armors that either can be used, and technically this one goes with the color scheme more. I'm using the 2015 mask because I just think that looks more iconic to Gali. But we're not out of the park yet. Of course, if that doesn't suit you, you can always take your open ball joint and take one of these tiny light blue pieces and pop that in as well. Personally, I like flipping this around so we have the little connector holes at the bottom. I know it can be a little difficult to see. Have the connector holes at the bottom and tipping it down a little bit. That helps fill in the gap. Oh, forgot to reattach the mask. Last but not least, we have our weapon. Rather simple weapon. We're going to use basically the exact same weapon used from 2016's model. However, I'm just going to have her holding that in her right hand with the stave, or the staff actually, connecting at the bottom. I ended up taking off the barbed pieces from the azure on the arms and the arm and the leg, but I think this looks really good. I had to fiddle around with some more pieces in order to get this to fit right, and so I didn't have the gearbox wobbling. It still wobbles a little bit, but not as much as it used to. Trust me, it used to wobble a lot more. Sorry about that. Worth mentioning, I had to flip around the blade piece of the gear function here on the weapon. You can have your character, for Gali, holding the weapon in both hands if you just basically do what they did for the original Gali, the original 2016 Gali set. I'm using one of these kind of silver double peg connectors. I'm putting in a double-ended axle connector, and that gives plenty of room to have her hold onto the blade. And in total we have actually technically four action features. We have the waist articulation, which is cool. We have the gear blade function up on the weapon. We have a working gearbox, in the upper, in the right arm, which, depending on how you have it posed, can work. It will not work if you're holding it in both arms, but my favorite function by far is in the feet. Now, normally I have them just like this. It kind of looks a little bit like scuba fins. However, if you take basically the red pin here and the red pin there and push them through, or just flip around the yellow piece, I pushed it through there. I'm going to flip it around here, and you combine the pieces, you get the cool combination mode, adrenaline mode that Gali from 2015 had, which is essentially kind of like a mermaid shark tail. And boom, now it's together. You can tip the feet back. Now you have a really cool mermaid style shark tail with fins and spikes and everything. That looks really cool. But there we go. We have 4 features in one figure. I'm very pleased with how this came out. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'm Metagross Freak, and have a great one. Bye.